Let's talk about what I've read so far in the month of May. Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So I'm going to talk about the 6 books that I have finished so far in the month of May. But before I get into talking about the books themselves, I need to make a complaint. Because for April, the prompt for Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge was to find a book with a character has red hair. Main character, whatever, something like that. So as I was reading books in April, I was paying attention to the descriptions of the characters' hair colors, and I did finally get to a character who had red hair. I did not enjoy that book, but I did find one. Then I did find another book. The very last book I read in April was one of the main characters' daughters. Well, one of the main characters, their daughter had reddish hair. Okay, that worked. Well, then we get into the month of May, and I'm being tormented by characters with red hair. The very first book I read in May, the main character has red hair. Then another book I read in May, one of the secondary characters has red hair. Then I just started a book last night, and every character in the main character's family has red hair. Where were these books when I was looking for a book in April? Okay, now let's talk about the books that I have read so far this month. So I finished 2 books that I had borrowed from the library, and so I filmed a clip talking about those 2 books plus another book that I finished at that point in time before I returned the books to the library. So let's go to that clip, and then I'll come back and talk about the other 3 books. Let's talk about this book, Is It Any Wonder by Courtney Walsh. So this is book number 2 of the Nantucket Love Story series. It does not need to be read as a series. It could easily be read as a standalone. The only thing tying each book together is they are set in Nantucket. So you kind of get the same setting, but majority of the characters do not. Actually, I don't think any of the characters flow from one to the other. Any of the community members, like nothing really other than the setting ties them together. But anyways, so this was a reread for me. I read it 3 years ago, I think it was, and I really enjoyed it at that point in time, but I didn't leave a review for it. So I didn't know what my thoughts were on it, other than I enjoyed it because I gave it a 5-star rating then, I think. Well, so I reread it, and I gave it a 5-star rating again. I loved this book. I loved these characters and following their story and their journey. So we are following Cody and Louisa, who grew up together through childhood. Their parents were best friends, so the families were always together. In high school, the 2 of them fell in love, and they were heading towards a serious permanent relationship. Then something happens, and Cody's dad passes away in a very tragic accident, and the 2 families are torn apart with grief and blame, and then the story picks up 12 years later. So when the story starts, it is like action-packed and like edge of your seat. Like, what is happening? What is going on? And Cody and Louisa are reunited in such an unexpected way, and I was so invested. And now that they've reconnected after 12 years apart, what's gonna happen? Is this just like a fluke? They reconnect and then they go their separate ways again? Or can they like move forward together? I loved following this story. I do not normally enjoy second chance romances, but just as the story moves, we find out what happened to Cody's dad, what happened that the families stopped speaking to each other, and everything that happened. And my heart broke for both characters. And it was just like they were so young. I mean, they were college age, but they were young to deal with everything that was going on. And the way that they persevered and moved past that, kind of moved forward with their lives. And it was like, can their families reconnect? Can forgiveness be found and healing? And can they move forward? I was fully invested with the characters. So there is a lot of serious, kind of hard discussions that happen, but then there is also really lightheartedness. And with with Louisa's friend and kind of mother figure sort of thing, right? And Martha, who just speaks her mind. Whatever she's thinking, she speaks her mind. And at times, I just laughed so hard. And then kind of they get forced to work together through different events. And I really, really enjoyed this story, and I highly recommend it. And there is a true faith message in the story that God has not abandoned you and is there for you. And yeah. Okay, so then I read What Matters Most by Courtney Walsh. This is book 3 of the Nantucket Love Story. As I said, it does not connect to the other ones other than the setting. In this one, we are following Emma and Jamie. So Emma is a single mom to a 5-year-old who lost her husband 5 years ago in the service. And Jamie is a single guy that arrives on let me back up. Emma has just arrived at Nantucket to her husband's place that he had inherited from his grandparents, and Emma had been living with her in-laws for the past 5 years as she dealt with the grief and everything that was going on. She has now moved into the place in Nantucket and is trying to create a life for her and her son, like kind of stand on her own 2 feet. Jamie arrives trying to find Emma to share something with her. And things happen, miscommunication happens, and kind of Jamie's plans change. Now, I did like how Jamie kind of set things aside and changed his plans when he saw that Emma needed help. What I did not like is Jamie has a pretty big secret about Emma and her husband that he is keeping from her. And the longer he kept it from her, the more suspicious I became that when she finds out, it's going to be big and have bad consequences. Like, it just, because like a friendship is forming and blooming between the two of them, which I did like. However, I didn't like that Jamie was keeping the secret. Now, Emma also has a secret that she is keeping. As things move forward, she reveals her secret to Jamie, and then she expects his forgiveness right away for keeping this from him. However, this secret doesn't really involve Jamie, and so she expects the forgiveness from him, but then when Emma does find out Jamie's secret, that does kind of affect her, right? Like, his part of, because it involves her husband. She couldn't forgive him, but yet she expected him to forgive her right away. But then she's like, no, I'm done. Like, right? And I'm just like, I did not like the secret keeping. I did not like how she was so unforgiving about that. And then there is kind of connection between a couple characters that is revealed later on that just felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, I didn't suspect it at all, and it just seems like it was thrown in there, and all of a sudden, like, it was like, okay. Like, yeah. And because of the way that the story progresses and stuff, I was not connecting with the characters as much as I would have liked to connect with them. It was okay. And it was kind of, I wanted to know what the secret was because, like, it's hinted at so often, but we never really know until like it's finally revealed on both sides. Like we both know that both of them have secrets, but it took a long time for that to be revealed. And so, yeah, I gave this 3 stars. I just was not fully invested in the characters and the story, and I didn't like the lying that happened. Okay, so then I have finished Someone to Trust by Melanie D. Snitker. So this is book 2 of the, what is the series called? Oh, Life Unexpected. So in this one, we are following Chess and Brooke, who are 2 friends that kind of grew up in foster care, and after foster care they got to know each other through a mutual friend, Joel. And so book 1 features Joel's story. Joel is off on his honeymoon when this book starts, so now the Chess and Brooke are left to, like, they've never really been one-on-one before. Right? Joel's always kind of been there and their other friend. And so now they're left together, and Brooke has some challenges happen to her, and so Chess steps in and helps her. Now, Brooke has harbored feelings for Chess for years, but Brooke is a Christian and Chess is not. And she feels that Chess sees her as a little sister. And Chess has feelings for Brooke, but feels that he's not good enough for her. And because of events that have happened in his life, and he's like, no, like I can't. And so we're kind of following that and watching. I really liked the 2 characters, especially liked Chess, and the way like he was the big brother, the protector, and really there for everybody. But I did not like how Brooke was so like, I want a relationship with Chess. I want to marry him. And when Joel comes back from his honeymoon, him and his wife are like kind of encouraging Brooke to move. And it was like, but Chess isn't a Christian. And Brooke is. And Joel is as well. And it's kind of like, maybe we shouldn't be encouraging this relationship so much. Maybe we should be focusing on Chess's spiritual relationship with God. So yeah, that kind of... So I gave this book 3 stars. It is a novella as well, which is not my favorite. So everything moves very quickly throughout it, and I don't feel like we really saw the characters grow. Like it's kind of, they were at one point and then all of a sudden they're here. And we just didn't see the progression the way I would like to see the progression. But Chess was definitely my favorite because I loved the way he was selflessly gave of himself for others. And then there's another storyline going on with him, and he just really opened his heart as well for that. And I did really enjoy that. I just didn't enjoy the way the romantic relationship built and moved forward. Yeah. Okay, so then I read Secondary Target by Angela Carlisle. I had received this as an advanced reader copy through NetGalley. It is now officially out. It was released on May the 7th. And the reason I requested it, because it was a romantic suspense and it was blurred by Lynn H. Blackburn, who I've really enjoyed. So I was like, okay, I want to give this one a try. It is a debut novel by Angela, but it will not be the last one I pick up by her. I will definitely be looking for future releases from her. So we are following Karina, who discovers she has a stalker. And then she finds out very early on that her father has been keeping secrets from her from the past, or about the past. Then there is a second chance romance that happens, and I am not a fan of second chance romances normally. But as we got to know the characters of Bryce and Karina and discover what tragedy happened that separated them and why they've gone their own way, it broke my heart, the tragedy and kind of what they've been through. and even like Karina's story, what she went through before that even happened. I just really, really liked these characters. And I was rooting for them to kind of overcome that tragedy, find a way to come together and kind of move forward together. I just really was rooting for the characters. And the way that Bryce and his sister Allie kind of rally around Karina with everything that's going on. They put their lives on hold. They put their lives at risk to try to protect her and try to figure out the secrets of what is going on, or who's after her, and what secrets have been kept by her father from her. I was fully invested in this story. And there is a lot of action that happens. And one thing I really appreciated about this story is that none of the main characters are in law enforcement. Karina owns a store. Bryce is ex-army, but he's going to be a mechanic at a shop. And Allie is a photographer. And so none of them are in law enforcement. They are in this dangerous situation, and they do turn to the police for help, which I really appreciated, really enjoyed. So yeah, I was fully invested in the story. And the villain in this is evil and creepy. The way he is able to get past the defenses that have been set up to protect Karina, scary. And it was like, okay, who is he? What? I could not figure this one out at all. And I really enjoyed that because I was stumped. And when it was revealed, I felt just like Karina when she was like, no, it can't be. Really? I totally felt that. And so there is mention of faith in this story. Both Bryce and Karina had faith, were both Christians, went to church on a regular basis and everything. And then the tragedy from their past happened, and it really shook them in different ways. One went one way, one went the other. And now they're together and they talk about it and kind of work through it. And I really enjoyed it. I was fully invested in the story. So I would highly recommend giving this book a try. So then the next book I read was Memory Lane by Becky Wade. This is book 1 of the Sons of Scandal series. This is the book that my BFF picked for me to read this month. And it was not on my radar to read it all because I don't own book 2. So I don't normally put the first book on a series that I don't own the rest of the series for. But she had read it and said, she didn't tell me her thoughts about it. She said, you need to read it and then I want to know your thoughts. And I'm like, okay. So did she really enjoy it or did she not like it? We have talked about it since, so I do know what her thoughts are now. But my thoughts are, so we are following Remy, who lives on this little isolated island just off the coast of Maine. And she is a wood sculpture artist and just really kind of has closed herself off from a lot. She's had something that happened in the past to her, and she has kind of put a little shield of protection around her. And then, so one day she's at her house and she looks out on the water and sees something and not sure what it is. She goes to investigate and discovers a man in the water. She rescues him from drowning, brings him home, and is trying to nurse him back to health. There is no doctor on the island, so her and her neighbor kind of do their best that they can for him. As he's kind of healing up from his injuries, they discover he has amnesia, doesn't know who he is, doesn't know how he ended up in the water, kind of all that whole backstory. So he ends up with the name Jonah. And so they're trying to figure out who he is, where he came from. So I really enjoyed the mystery aspect of this book. It's very different from a lot of Becky Wade books I have read because of that. just it had a lot more mystery in it. And then when we do discover who he is, we find out there's another mystery in his background that he is trying to figure out. And so it was a lot more kind of mystery based than just who is he. There was more to the story. What I did not really like about this book is I didn't really like the way that Jonah and Remy interacted. One minute they were like friendly banter things, and others they were just kind of really enemies and really not nice to each other. And I just wasn't a fan of their characters or their interaction with each other. There was a lot of physical descriptions, and the way that Jonah first describes Remy, and it wasn't flattering at all. And then like Jonah is kind of perfect in Remy's eyes, but she doesn't want anything to do with him. And it just, I don't know, it just felt off to me. And then there was some other scenes with side characters that just felt inserted for no reason at all. They just didn't really add to the Jonah and Remy story. Now I know one of those scenes is really because it's going to build up for the next book and really kind of introduce you to a little bit of the next book. I know that, but it also felt like, why put it in here? I don't know. There was a few other things that really kind of bothered me about this book, but I don't want to get into it a lot because it can be controversial. There's just too much mention of alcohol in this book for me. And not to the extent of like drinking in excess, getting drunk and stuff like that. It was very casual mentions of it, but it still just, every time it was mentioned, it just irked me because it felt like it was mentioned a lot. But there are some very heavy topics in this book that I really kind of wasn't expecting when I look at the cover. The cover feels very like carefree, whimsical kind of thing. But then there's mentions of rape, there's mentions of suicide, murder, infidelity. Like there's just a lot of kind of heavy topics. None of them are going into full detail. And so like there was no like trigger stuff for me, but it just wasn't what I was expecting, other than the Sons of Scandal title kind of does make sense as you get to know a little bit more of the characters. But yeah, other than being fully invested in the mystery and wanting answers about like who Jonah was and kind of the background, I just didn't care for the characters. So this was a 3 for me. Okay, so then I finished listening to The Broker by John Grisham. I am so glad that I listened to this on audiobook and didn't try to read it. I think I would have really struggled if I was reading it. And that is because we are following Joel, who has been recently pardoned from prison and has been taken from prison to Italy. And so he is learning the Italian language. He has a handler in Italy. He doesn't know why he was released, why he was pardoned, why he's being sent to Italy with this handler. And there's kind of a mystery going on with that. He was known as the broker before he went to jail because of some satellite stuff. I don't really understand. I didn't understand a lot of the Washington politics that was going on, and didn't really understand the whole satellite aspect with the different countries, and I didn't really get that. And if it was only that, I would not have enjoyed this book. But what I really enjoyed about it was getting to know the character of Joel and following him through this and his undercover or witness protection identity. And he's trying to create a new life for himself. But these people have put him in Italy where he doesn't speak the language. So then he is working with language teachers, teaching the language. And that is why I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I listened to it or if I had read it, because there's a lot of Italian phrases throughout the book. And during each Italian phrase is said and then the English is said. So, I mean, you find out what they are. But if I was reading it, I'd have no idea how. I would have stumbled over the Italian words, because I don't know Italian. So that is why listening to it worked really well for me. And what I really enjoyed about it is just following the day-to-day life of Joel, or his witness protection persona, and trying to figure out, why is he being brought here? Why couldn't he have gone to an English-speaking country? What is the motives behind these people? And can he really trust these handler people? And why was he released? What's the background? What's going on? So he is a 50-ish-year-old guy trying to learn this new language to him and trying to figure out everything else. He was a lawyer back in the day. He's lost his license due to whatever happened that put him in jail. And so he's doesn't know technology either, right? He was a phone guy, in-person guy. And now he's trying to learn email and dealing with cell phones and encrypt messages. And I really enjoyed kind of watching him try to figure things out and kind of outsmart some of the people around him. And he was able to kind of escape some of the life threats that, he didn't even know that he barely escaped. I was fully invested in the character. Now, the way the book ends, it's kind of will he be okay? Has he outsmarted them? Or are things not as tense as they started at the beginning? I don't know. And I really enjoyed this book. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. Now, it is not clean, per se. Joel himself, it's there isn't any scenes with him that really made me kind of cringe and be I wish I wasn't reading this. There was a couple scenes mentioned, just kind of not on the page, you don't see what's happening, but that they've just slept with a woman, for example, and stuff. And so there was a couple things that were I wish that wasn't included, but it is a secular book. It's not expected to be clean, but there was very little language in it and no descriptions in it. So I gave this book 4 stars because, again, I just liked following and getting to know Joel and kind of rooting for him to figure out and kind of survive, not be killed, because that's really what they're after. And I just really enjoyed it. But the ending was kind of yeah, left me kind of guessing what was going to happen next. So that is what I have read so far this month. I hope I've encouraged you to at least try 2 of the books that I read, because I had 2 5 stars. And I'm really hoping the rest of the month goes well. I've already started my next book and I'm really enjoying it. So I am going to end here so that I can go back to reading it. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.